the city council meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance, or excuse me, roll call please.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fetch.
Yes.
Feltus.
Yeah.
Mazak.
Yes.
Wojni. Holstead.
Yes.
We have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Verification of posting.
The agenda was posted at City Hall, State Bank of Arcadia, Arcadia TV and appliance on the city website. It's the updated agenda on 3/5 by noon.
Entertain a motion to move the agenda. Motion by Fetch, is there a second?
Second.
By Mazak. Clerk will call the roll.
Mazak.
Yes.
Holstead.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fetch.
Yes.
Feltus.
Motion carries. Public comment? Public, go ahead.
I've got one, grooming our wonderful cross-country ski trails. The snow is so deep, and we were going last week anyway, but I don't even know if I could find the tractor to do it. But if people are kind of wondering where the grooming is, what's happening with it, it's just because it's so deep, you just can't groom, it's just too deep.
Okay.
Second thing, besides deep, I think we need chains, and I'm going to suggest somehow or another to whom it may concern that we might get some chains for that tractor so I don't slip and slide. There's a difference on when you're laying a trail. If it's slipping, you have a tendency to do this instead of going straight. You know, if you have chains, you're going to pull yourself around. So I'm suggesting, I think Raul, we've talked about it, but we want to get, perhaps we should talk about it as far as getting a price and all that sort of thing. And
Well, we need to own a tractor before we buy change to somebody's tractor.
well, the thing is maybe we can get it donated too. I'm working on that. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of snow.
But
Remember in October, you always said you wish you had snow to use that groomer?
right.
You got the snow now, Doc, so I don't want to hear anything else.
But I'm going to
right.
talk about change.
All right.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Public comment, hearing none. Presentations, none this evening. Old business, approved meeting minutes from February 13th, 2019. Motion by Colstead, second by Fetch. Any questions about them? Clerk will call the roll.
Holstead.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fetch.
Yes.
Feltus.
Yes.
Mazak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Approved meeting minutes from February 20th, 2019. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Anderson, second by
Second.
Fetch.
That's on the 20th, you said 19th.
20th, sorry.
Yeah.
Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Yep.
Fetch.
Yes.
Feltus.
Yeah.
Mazak.
Yes.
Holstead.
Yes.
Motion carries. Board and commission updates, none. Department updates, Mr. Chang.
But to back up, sir,
Yep.
I do have ambulance board report, and I do have the yearly report, and guess what? I left them at home. So,
Can you give them to Bill and then he, or Angela, and they can send them out to all of
yeah,
us?
so all of you, that you should see that, everybody should get a copy of that. I
Yep.
did get enough for everybody. Sorry about that.
Department updates, Bill, you're up.
Okay, so I'm going to give an update on the Army Corps 205 levy project in regards to the funding and the timeline. And we're running into a challenge here. If you can remember, we previously reported that we had worked with State Representative Craig Krumsinski to get legislative language added into the 2017-2019 biennium. And what that did was provided a opportunity for a $14.6 million grant to the city to match the U.S. Army Corps grant, which is $10 million. A caveat in the language in that biennium was that the funds needed to be encumbered before the end of that biennium, the current biennium. which I believe ends June 30th of this year. Now, the issue that we're running into is that it's taking the Army Corps longer than we had expected, or they had expected to finish their feasibility study. And to encumber the funds, the DNR wants or needs some kind of written document from the Army Corps stating that they are invested in this project, or at least have the funds set aside. So that's what we're running into. So it's a difference in timelines here. And so we saw this coming up, and we had worked with Representative Franciski in regards to potentially getting the deadline postponed. What had happened was there was language in what is now the lame duck bills to extend our funding, or the funding for the city, into the 2019-21 biennial budget. And as some of you may know, currently that set of bills is being challenged in court, which potentially could put that in jeopardy. And so right now we're working with state representative, the state representative. We're working with the Army Corps. We're working with our federal representatives to see what we can do, whether to postpone that deadline again, or to see if there is a different federal program for which we can slide our project into. But I thought that it's important for this council to know of what we are dealing with in regards to the financing.
Questions?
So this is politics?
At its finest.
Yeah.
State politics and federal politics.
And program restrictions.
Yeah,
and
the state won't give up, even if it could have happened in this biennium, it still can't happen in this biennium. The state, led by the DNR, needs to have an understanding that the federal government, the Corps of Engineers, is behind the project. The federal government won't give that guarantee until their study is done, even though there's money in it, but they won't sign anything until that time. So the state won't release the money or even encumber the money, saying we won't even spend it or would spend it. So it's kind of the.
So that is one of the options that we're exploring is also what we can do in the current biennium to try to get the funds encumbered. And currently at this point we're kind of running up against the wall with the DNR. But we continue to work on it and look at all options at this point.
So it's not defunct, it just might be delayed.
Depending on what happens in the next couple of months here.
So initially we were put into the 17-19 budget to have it. We have those 14 points, the state money to have it, that money. But it was stated in the legislation that we needed
To have it encumbered by the end of the biennium, which ends June 30th of this year.
And the DNR won't encumber the money until they get the report from the Corps of Engineers.
They're dragging their feet.
They're not
But
dragging
going through
their feet.
process.
They're processing.
Politically correct.
Yeah.
I like
It's
that.
bureaucracy.
Mm.
And they don't change for the city of Arcadia.
Okay.
Again, I mean, I don't think that it's technically dead in the water yet, but I mean,
No.
we continue to work at it. It's important. It's the lawsuit is out there publicly, and I think it's important that the council know about this.
I think the frustrating thing is when we asked for the $14.6 million from the state of Wisconsin, it was passed through the House, passed through the Senate, and signed by the governor to be used. And, you know, for whatever reason, the Corps has fallen behind. It was put into the lame duck bill, but now the lame duck bill is being acted upon by our current governor. So that's where we sit. I mean, but Bill's done a heck of a job. Terry's done a heck of a job. We've reached out to our U.S. senators, U.S. representatives to see if that's the direction we can go. We're working with our state representative just to see if that's how the direction we can change any legislation that way. But we're doing what we can on our end. It's just between the three of us, it's frustrating.
Could the council go down and visit the Capitol or this type and then put in?
We may need to.
Yeah, we do.
But if you looked at that lame duck bill, there's so many items in there. And that's very political, and obviously we know the political climate in the state right now. So I don't know what's going to get done, to be honest.
And again, we're kind of we're exploring all options at the table that potentially could be out there. We just don't know where it's going to go from here. So
Do the best you can, I guess that's all I can say.
any other questions on that? So Eva and I met with the school district where Lance backsaid, and we had started at least initial discussions on how that community center may impact our rec program going into the future. I don't think too much has come out of it, but at least we're talking at this point. Just a reminder of the timeline. I believe their community center is set to open at the end of the year, close to the end of the year, October. And so they are looking to actually start hiring or planning for hiring coming in May here for their upper level staff for the community center. In regards to the ITGS position here at City Hall, we did post that position. We received 27 applicants, and so we're moving forward to, we're meeting tomorrow to discuss the applicants and then potentially interviews next week and the following week. Hoping to have someone in place by middle of March, end of March. If you remember that our current IT contract goes out till the end of March, and then we have an option to go month to month thereafter. So we continue to work on that. The recycling RFP or request for proposal is out there. That closes on March 14th, and I expect to receive at least 3 bids from what I'm seeing out there right now. And that's in regards to curbside recycling pickup. The plan is to have a tentative award for the low bid, and then be able to share that information with the public, and then wait and see what the referendum results are. We did note within the RFP that it's subject to the city being able to pass that referendum. Then the last thing here I have, Tim Putz, the electric superintendent, shared it this morning on April 4th on MEUW, which is the the state organization that assists with electric utilities. We have our safety program through MEUW. They have a meet and greet dinner that starts at 6 o'clock. I think it's a free dinner in Black River Falls. And they've extended the invitation to any council members that may want to go to that. So let me or Angela know if you are interested in that. I think it's a dinner and like a golf outing. all I have.
Comments, questions for Bill? Don't have any now, you know where his office is and how to get a hold of him, so.
He's gonna visit me, it's changed quite a bit.
He likes visitors.
Yeah.
It's finally clean now.
Public hearings, we have none scheduled for this evening. Number 8A, discussion on possible approval of the 2019 Aquatic Center and Park and Rec hires.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Feltus, second by Fetch. Questions?
Who made that motion? Joe?
Feltus and Fetch. Getting off easy, Alva.
I am. Wow.
So far.
Clerk will call the roll.
Must be all my old age.
Fetch?
Yes.
Feltes?
Yep.
Mezek?
Yeah.
Olsted?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yep.
Motion carries. Item 8B, discussion of possible approval of the 2019 Aquatic Center rates. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Feltus, second by Fetch. Questions?
That gets us to where we need to be, those rates.
Yeah, I only we can raise them, so we can keep
I mean,
it.
we're trying to, I mean, not to speak for Evan,
No,
I mean,
yeah.
we can't raise them to a certain point of where we need to be, but you still want it to be accessible by some. And obviously, the more we charge, a lot less accessible it is to others, so at some point, we have to keep
Level
it
off,
accessible,
yeah,
so.
and that's what we feel.
So, Eva's done a nice job with that.
Thank you. That was easy.
Clerk will call the roll. 2 for
Feltes?
2 ain't bad.
Yeah.
We haven't voted yet.
Yes.
Mezek?
Yes.
Olsted?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fetch?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 8C, discussion of possible approval of the 2019 Aquatic Center lease with the school district.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Feltus, second by Fetch. You guys are quick down here.
Yeah.
What's that? They have to go to church tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comments or questions?
Were there any changes from last year on that?
Just the dates.
Just
The dates. Okay, thank you.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mezek?
Yes.
Olsted?
Yes?
Anderson?
Yes.
Fetch?
Yes.
Feltes?
Yep.
Motion carries. Item 8B, discussion of possible action to authorize the mayor to sign the library lease agreement and ancillary documents.
So moved.
Motion by Feltus, second by Mazak. Comments, questions?
Were there any,
So there are no changes from the last agreement that was presented. We did add in the exhibits. We completed the exhibits and then we added, the revised site plan, to the packet. And then, the complete packet or the complete agreement was sent over to the school district. They had it reviewed by their attorney and, there were no objections there, so, unless there's an objection here, I think we're ready to move forward.
was the, access to the bathrooms addressed? Remember that was,
We, yep, so that was a revision that we made to the, site plan.
okay,
We made sure that we highlighted the bathrooms as part of the common area.
okay.
I think remembering back, I think that was really the only discussion we had.
I think so.
Is there any other comments, questions?
The,
Go ahead.
just comment, I see Paul Services signed it for the school, being the board president, not the superintendent signed it.
Yeah.
Would be the board president. We do have, I think we do have it in there that it gets, any changes thereof gets noticed to the superintendent.
I think it's both, isn't it, superintendent and the board president? And that's with any agreement I think we have with the school. Just,
Oh, okay.
any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Olsted?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fetch?
Yes.
Feltes?
Mm-hmm.
Mezek?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 8E, discussion of possible action on ordinance 2019-1, regulating special events.
So moved.
Motion by Feltus, is there a second?
Second.
By Fetch. Bill, you wanna discuss this?
Yeah, so we've seen this a couple of times, at council. You know, we, after the last meeting, I believe, it was the first meeting in February, we went back and took another look at it with Cole Bowick and Jeff Halverson, in regards to, some language within it. The copy that you have in your file, I think, does not have a red line version. It was the draft that was proposed, I think, is that true? And, we do have a red line version, I don't know if that got out there, no?
Would anyone like to see it? It's in
But
the
I can go
office.
through the changes from the previous draft, it's not too much. So, we add page numbers at the end of at the bottom of the page, on page 2, we changed the definition of special event. What we did was the last 2 lines there in the special event, we pretty much crossed that out, and the new definition reads, a temporary event or activity occurring on public or private property that may interfere with or differs from the normal and ordinary use of the property or adjacent public or private property which the city determines would require city services beyond normally provided on a daily basis. And so that clears it up, and centers it specifically around the need for city services above and beyond what the normal use is. There was some hesitancy from the event organizers that was not clearly defined enough. The next change is under section 328-6, subsection A,
Page,
second page.
second.
Yep, it's the next paragraph down. So there, we made the change at the end there where the last sentence in subsection A special event permit may be issued to any applicant by the City of Arcadia Common Council or its designee. And so what we did was we struck some verbiage in there that says fines appropriate, and not necessarily changing the structure of the paragraph. In subsection C on page 2, in the last sentence there, it says in parentheses, refer to section 3.28-12. We added language that states of this ordinance, so just referencing this ordinance. On page 3, a minor change in subsection E sub 1. The last sentence there, the authorized representative or their designated representative, we added an S, representatives, must be on site and available at all times during the event. The concern there was that if it was a long event, like Roller Days or Ashley for the Arts, that the applicant and just one designated representative may not be able to be on the site at all times, so they asked that we allow for more designated representatives. Subsection 2, on page 3 there, about the middle of the paragraph, we struck age, residence, and of the primary officers. So that paragraph should read the name, age, residence, and mailing address for all persons required to sign the application, and in the case of a corporation, a certificate of status together with the name and mailing address of the corporation or its primary officers.
Not age residence, huh?
And the concern there is in regards to privacy to some corporations, and respecting that. Okay, no changes, except for adding the page numbers, no changes on page 4. No changes on page 5. On page 6, under subsection E, cleaning and damage deposit. The last sentence there, we added, glass bottles are prohibited, well, the original language stated glass bottles are prohibited from all special events on public property. There are some concerns about future events, whether or not it may require glass being on that property, like a wine tasting event was an example that was brought up. So we added language that stated, changing it to glass bottles are prohibited from all special events on public property unless otherwise allowed by a majority vote of the common council. So it gives council the discretion of whether or not you want glass on public property during a special event. And that is a majority vote. The only change on page 6, on page 7, under subsection H, the second to last sentence there, we changed that to all wiring shall be installed by an electrician with a valid license in the state of Wisconsin, or be inspected by a state certified inspector prior to being energized. And what we read into there was if we required a state certified inspector at all events, getting one to come for something minor like a tent may be a far stretch. Add a page number to page at the bottom of the page. On page 8, under subsection 328-10, notice or notification to property owners. We changed that from 14 days to 7 days, so the new paragraph reads, a city may condition a special event permit on a requirement that the person or applicant give not less than 7 days written advance notice of the event and its probable impact to any adjoining property owners who will be immediately impacted by the event. And what we ran into there was, right above there in subsection C, we had that once an application is submitted, council has to respond within 14 days or more before the event. And so the prior language requiring the event holder to send notice 14 days was a short turnaround. Page 9, there are no changes. And page 10, there are no changes. Well, we changed from February to March for the adopted date. That is it.
Comments, questions?
On any of the ordinance?
Our police and fire, they all concur with all this, did they see?
Yeah, so we've sent copies of this to each department for review. We sent it out there to the organizers of the 2 larger events, so Barlow Days and also to ASD for the Arts. This has gone back and forth between myself, Rob, and Terry quite a bit. Diana's seen it, Jeff Halverson's seen it. This is kind of where we're at right now.
Okay. I mean, I think of actually for the arts, talking about 35, 40, 50, 100,000 every year. It seems like it's going up, but is this small community equipped to handle those kind of crowds? That's my thinking. What does it do to our community? What do we get out of it? I mean, all this sort of thing, and hopefully this covers some of that.
I mean, Yeah, it's a big event, but I think it really showcases the city of Arcadia. I know there's a lot of growing pains and there's a lot of pains for 2 days. But I think it's also, it's a good thing. I think it not only helps the city, but it really brings a lot of people into our community that not necessarily come to Arcadia and just use the Highway 93 corridor. They don't see the rest of Arcadia. I think it also helps a lot of other businesses.
So that is,
Whether it's food vendors or tent vendors or machine rentals, I mean, there's a lot of people that it benefits.
so that's
And
another,
in turn helps the city of Arcadia. I mean, it really puts us on the map, and it's been a good thing for Arcadia. I do believe, I know, and it's frustrating for every department, and I, not to speak for Raleigh, he knows that the stress it's under, the police know the stress it's under, the electric department know the stress they're under. I mean, it is a stress, but at the end, it's, you look back and the park is nice and it's beautiful, and that's the way it should be utilized. I mean, we have to use it, it's there, so that's my 2 cents.
that is something to note, so there is language in here that allows the city to either regulate by ordinance or regulate by agreement. And that is currently something that we are talking to Ashley for the Arts and to the Lions Club in regards to, is setting up an agreement for those, particularly those 2 events, because they're annual events, and even now without an ordinance, we continue to work with those organizations to make those events better. So that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fitch,
Yes.
Nicholas,
Yep.
Mason,
Yes.
Holstead. Yes.
Motion carries. Get back to the top. Item 8F, discussion on 2019 Community Development Block Grant Public Facilities Grant Application preparation.
So move.
Well,
Motion by Feltus, second by Fetch.
there's actually no motion here, so
No need one?
I just need some guidance. I don't know. So this year we are eligible to apply for CDBG funding. The parameters of CDBG funding has changed from matching max amount of $500,000 to $1 million, and changing from a 1-to-1 match ratio to a 1-to-2. So for every dollar we spend, they would match $2. What that does is that the pot of overall dollars is still the same, so it's less projects, it's more competitive. And so right now I'm looking at kind of 2 different projects within the city of Arcadia that may be competitive in the application process. There needs to be some thought put into this, and I want to share some information here, and then I'd like to get your guidance on which project to apply for, to apply the funds to, and then what I'll need to do is put that application together. As part of that application is a resolution that will approve the city to apply for that grant, and then there's the whole process, the community hearing that we'll have to go through, certain postings, etc. So the 2 projects that we are, I'm considering here, one is the storm sewer internal drainage project, and a little bit about that is currently we've applied for the U.S. Economic Development Grant, administration grant for that, and the total project, what that project includes is a replacement of the machinery pump to a lift station, adding storm sewer from that pump to our main infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure, and then upgrading the main lift station, the Deer Park pump, the Ashley Way pump station, so that it meets the requirements for the Army Corps project. And so it was proposed in that application that the city's match funds for that grant, would come from general obligation borrowing. The total budget for that project, we had estimated at $5.8 million. The grant would have covered 4.3 million, would have left the city's obligation at about 1.5 million. And so, if we apply for the grant, we would be able to match the grant to the US EDA dollars, which would reduce the city's obligation from 1.5 million to 500,000. And that, then we would have to have a discussion on how we would finance that, whether we would do it through some kind of borrowing or if we would do it through fund balance, but we can have more discussion on that. So that's one proposal. The other proposal is the extension of Gaffney Road. So we have it in our capital improvement plan right now, to reconstruct Gaffney Road, the portion that goes from County J to Pearl Street. And as part of that, we are negotiating an agreement with the town to assist in funding the reconstruction. In thinking this over, what we potentially could do is put that project and the extension of Gaffney Road together as one project and utilize the funds that we have budgeted with the funds that would be agreed to by the town as match dollars to hopefully get the $1 million in grant money for the Gaffney Road extension. Now, in working with Davie Engineering and coming up with preliminary cost estimates, the reconstruction and the extension would be really expensive to do. When looking at a 30-foot wide rural section road, we're looking at about $1.5 million for the whole thing. When looking at a 41-foot wide urban section road, which would include curb, gutter, we're looking at about $1.9 million. So those are preliminary estimates. The extension would include a water main extension, it would not include sewer, sanitary sewer. It would have to include some kind of stormwater work, because we have a lot of drainage issues there. And then it would also include moving what would be the left field of the high school's baseball field. So there are some challenges there. We do have we have a bunch of electric cabinets and a main feeder line that runs right down the middle of that property. We would have to engage in some conversation with Richard Shank about portions of his property where the intersections are, but we've had initial discussions with the school district and would most likely if we move forward on the extension, we most likely have that road be on school property. Now, if you take a look at the map now, if you look at Fairfield, where this road would potentially be, look at Fairfield and how Gaffney currently lines up with that. You're gonna have awkward intersections, they're not straight intersections, but that's a relatively expensive project. We would probably be able to swing the 30-foot wide rural section, but definitely not the 41-foot wide section. Thoughts, questions, discussion?
Well, personally, I feel number one is more important than getting Gaffney fixed.
And the extension you're talking about, that goes up between,
Well, the extension would be from Pearl Street to Fairfield.
Okay.
It'd be a new road, and what that does is it resolves some congestion issues, you know, with the school. It provides a different route for traffic. There's a pinch point on Wilson between Pearl and Simpson. You know, having it go down that portion of Gaffney and then to Fairfield would make traffic flow a little bit better. So there are benefits. It sets up for potential future development. You know, it's, again, we're kind of back at weighing flood mitigation improvements versus future growth of the city.
Which they kinda go hand in hand.
Well, yeah, but short term.
But the flood mitigation is a need now.
definitely.
Immediate need, I agree, and, you know, maybe after this community center's built and we see how traffic flows, we can get a better idea, understanding of what needs to be done there, cause really hate to, even if we try to do a rural section,
Well,
that
no.
needs to be changed again.
The other thing is, in my recommendation would be the stormwater project. The timelines line up pretty good in regards to the application process, and potentially when both these grants will be awarded. It lines up well, in that implementation of the, and construction of the project is around the same time. With that being said, I think, you know, depending on what the political climate is and, you know, the funding for CDBG, we will be eligible for a CDBG again in 2021. At that time, the council may consider revisiting Gaffney, but you just need to know that then those dollars for the Gaffney reconstruction, we have that pinned for this year. So we'd have to come up with those match funds elsewhere. Or you may wanna look at a totally different project in 2020.
Just to make sure we're on the same page, when you say Gaffney reconstruction, that would still happen 2019?
Yep, we
Just
are
during the
budgeted.
from Pearl Street to County J.
Correct.
Okay.
So we are currently budgeted for Gaffney Road reconstruction and
Because that's
We're
the
replacing
immediate
that.
need.
Yes, that is.
we're looking at
It's horrible.
replacing that at like kind, so
It's more than.
currently it's a rural section road. We would be replacing the rural section, replacing it as a rural section. More to come on that.
So that's happening this year,
The whole
this
bit.
summer. Okay, cause that is terrible by the swimming pool and. it's-
I mean, we see it as an issue, the township sees it as an issue.
Yeah,
And right now, we're negotiating the agreement, so I feel we're pretty close, but until that's signed.
but what this is
What may-
here is that, we're looking at the, stormwater facility improvement situation versus the extension of the Gaffney Road.
Correct.
I would be all in favor of number one.
So again, I don't need a vote or a motion or anything like that. You do have one, so if you wanna continue it, you can definitely do so.
Well, I think the motion, and Joe stated he knows what it is, and I think the second is the same, would be to move forward with
Number one.
Number one.
the project of the internal storm drainage. Is that correct, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Doc?
Yes.
I think we should vote on it then. Any other questions?
But can we vote on it?
I think it's listed as a discussion, and but above it is a discussion or possible action. Discussion / action
Will
items.
provide.
It's not approving it or anything like that, it's
I
basically.
have a question unrelated to the vote or anything, but if that's gonna go through the school's property, has the school been willing to help out at all with the finances of that push?
Yeah.
You know, because it's
They-
a big benefit to the school
Yeah,
if that road is in.
yeah, we talked about that, and they are not in a position where they would be able to assist with.
At this time.
They actually wanna, I mean, they're concerned about the cost of moving in left field, and even that, we explored that with them. And at this point, this project was thought about as purely, if the cost came within, within budget and those grant dollars are there, we would go after it, but if it's not, then it's not a high enough priority for us to put more dollars into it at this time.
Once upon a time, when they were planning this Lennox Center and all that sort of thing, there seemed to be some kind of an extension of that road that would, of the artery that would connect with that parking lot area, I think, once upon a time. But there
Yeah, I
wasn't
think-
enough money for that.
Well, I think initially they had put it in their master plan, or had it in their master plan,
Yeah,
but it was a high in the sky wish, to get that.
I think so.
And I think they had that estimated at $800,000.
But at least they're considering it, I mean, thinking, because there's drainage situations probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there would be a lot of challenges. There'd be drainage, it would be, traffic, there's, again, the main feeder from substation 2, or the east substation to our main substation, goes right down the middle of that property line. So all of that would have to be moved.
Have to move the athletic field or something like that.
Well, you'd have to reconfigure that parking lot, by that softball field, or that baseball field, you'd have to reconfigure that baseball field, and then you would have to have some kind of divider, because you do not want a short field right up against a street.
Yeah, well then you got farmland or farm there too, cattle, all that sort of thing.
It'd be a lot easier if you could just buy 50 feet from Dick Shane's, but
Right, yeah. Well, maybe someday, you never know.
either that or it's all eminent domain.
Comments or questions?
Ooh. Yeah.
Clerk will call the roll.
Fetch,
Yes.
Feltes,
Yes.
Mezek,
Yes.
Holsted,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So can I just confirm the motion is to move forward on the internal drainage grant?
Grant application.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
it's
prepare-
just to give Bill direction to go forward with it.
I just need the direction, because
Yeah.
then, again, what we'll do
You
is
have to come back here.
we'll prepare the resolution, and there's a couple items that we'll have to put together in regards to the grant application, and bring that back to council.
9A, approve bills of general account in the amount of $151,206.61.
So moved.
Wait, you have an old agenda.
Oh, this is the one that was online, I'm sorry.
No bucket.
Yeah, we added a couple of items.
Oh.
Where was that?
Item 8G, discussion and possible action on purchase of snow bucket.
So moved.
Okay, as you can imagine.
Just wait, motion by Feltus, is there a second?
Yeah. Is that a pail or what?
No,
Go ahead,
it's,
Raleigh.
our two biggest loaders both got 2 3/4 yard buckets. Well, you're looking at 1,500 pounds of material when you're hauling snow. And as we were hauling snow recently, which we've been hauling a lot of snow lately, I started looking at, I was doing some cycle times, how long it was taking. And I talked to one of the Hesh guys that both of them loaders would be able to support a 5-yard bucket, which would give us basically 4 duty cycles, is what they call it. Going into the pile, loading the truck, pile, truck. And 4 buckets and you go. Right now we're putting 8, sometimes 9, sometimes 10, depending on what you get. Basically, the other day I did a little study, we were hauling by Bowick's, and I figured it out in a day's time, each truck would haul 12 more loads. That don't seem like a lot. right? But if you got 500 loads to haul and you're hauling 24 more loads every day, I mean, it adds up. And the biggest thing is, the less time you'd be spending on your loader, which is a very expensive piece of equipment. Less duty cycles, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm suggesting is, and you're not gonna get one, the snow's gonna be melted by the time you get one right now. I just wanna throw it out there, and I would look for a used one. There's some out there. Sometimes you gotta change the coupler on them, cause we got a specific coupler compared to some other ones, which that's gonna cost you probably $2,000, but basically a 5-yard snow bucket's gonna cost you $9,000 or better, $10,000. But in the long run, it's gonna be something that lasts for, 30 years, as long as someone doesn't abuse it and try to, because that's basically all it's gonna be used for is snow, or if you had mulch or something like that. Light material bucket is what they call it. It weighs the same as the bucket we got now, almost identical, but it's bigger. So naturally, if you put heavier material in it, you're gonna tear it up. But you're not gonna get one for this mess we got right now. But I just wanted your opinions on, is it something I should pursue? Should I look for a used one?
So basically, the motion would be to pursue looking for one, and then, or do you wanna, do you have money out there to,
Well-
expend towards one, or is that something that you wanna continue to work on? Cause
I haven't had a chance to talk to Bill about that, as you can imagine.
A
but-
couple of ways that we can do it is authorize Raleigh to go, look for it even through the summer months, because there may be opportunities there. And if we could look at the budget this year, if not, look into next year's budget into purchasing it. We still have to figure out the fine details for that, but making sure that we're taking advantage of opportunities that might come about.
But
And having that flexibility.
okay, so the motion would be to have you research it, work with Bill to come up with the funding source of how it should be done. Is that okay, Joe and Todd?
Mm-hmm.
For a 5-yard. Right.
yeah, a 5-yard bucket. So,
And you could use it for other.
well, we could use it for
light-
load and brush. We
lighter-
could use it for like when we do mulch, at the
Mulch,
Kids
right.
Kingdom. It'd be in snow, but you're not gonna, if someone takes it, and that's gonna have to be the grand rule. If you take that bucket and you stick it in a pile of heavy material, you're gonna twist or you're gonna break,
Can you use this on, you got one payloader?
We've got 3.
3, so
And if
you
you
can
wanna buy a
use-
4th one, we could've used it last week.
I'll bet. Can
I
you,
mean-
use this bucket on any of those 3 then?
Yes, except the smallest loader we got, it'd be pretty well taxing, but
Yeah.
we've got 3, a 20,000 pound loader, a 25 and a 28. I'm sizing it for the 25 so that the 2 big ones you could probably go to a 6 with the biggest loader, but then you'd be taxing the next smaller one.
You use the snow blower on one of those, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one, the middle one is the one I carried the snow blower
Okay,
on.
so you're probably going with the big one then?
Probably,
More
but
likely.
if you buy a 6-yard, which the big one would take, and then put it on the next smaller one, then it'd be pretty taxing. So you're still almost doubling your capacity from what we got now. So
You wanna look at the smaller one to reserve the flexibility in case something should happen.
breakdown or whatever,
Do that.
Comments, questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Feltes,
Yes.
Mezek,
Yes.
Olsted. Yes. Anderson,
Yes.
Petch.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 8H, discussion of possible action on budget amendments, 2018-2.
And Rob is gonna hand out, a spreadsheet Our audit is finalized, and one of the things the auditors recommended was doing a more of a true up on that. Can you give that to Bill? A true up on budget versus actual. There, you'll see, you know, the line items, you'll see the original budget on the left-hand side. The amendment will be in the color coded and the final budget on the right-hand side. You know, a couple of things that the auditor suggested is, you know, on the expenditure side, we had expenses for FEMA reimbursement. We did not budget. We got a revenue from FEMA, from the government last year. We did not budget that revenue. But our auditor said, well, you should really be budgeting the FEMA revenue and budgeting the, you know, the expenditures that you had, doing a budget amendment to capture those. One of the other items that we haven't budgeted for in the past that our auditors are recommending that we budget for is, you know, every year the amount that's outstanding on the TIF districts that we get, the general fund charges is a 5% interest rate when they loan money to the TIF districts for all the projects, that get recorded as a revenue as well. So, you know, every year we balance or we adopt a balanced budget. And with the FEMA expenditures, we're recommending a budget amendment on the expenditure side of an additional $170,649. Some line items went up, some went down. The majority of them are related to FEMA. And then also we had gotten some donations from Memorial Park, and they recommended that we recognize and up our expenditure budget for the donation amount, and then show the offsetting revenue as a budgeted revenue. And so on the revenue side with the FEMA adjustments and everything else, that nets to an increase on the revenues of $489,302. And I apologize, Bill and I have been working with the auditor, Bill Molina at Johnson Block, on this, and we kind of finished it up today, so I didn't have it available for the agenda packet. But I don't know if you guys are comfortable in spending a few minutes looking through this, or if you want to hold off until the 20th.
So just some additional comments in regards to the budget adjustment, at least on the revenue side. A lot of the revenues that you see being adjusted there, you know, when we budgeted for the 2018 budget, you know, in early 2017, we may have not known what those revenues would have been at that time. And what we failed to do was make that budget adjustment at the time that we received those revenues. And so, as Angela has stated, we're making that change now to zero out the budget. So you'll see there on the last page there, some of the large adjustments.
So there's no increase in revenue, no increase in expenses, it's basically just put into the.
Right, the actual has happened. What this would do is just amend the line items. So we're not spending any more, you know, you approving the budget amendments, we're not spending any more money than what's actually happened in 2018, because 2018 is done, the audit is done. Johnson Block will be coming in the next couple of months to, you know, do their annual review for you guys. This just true ups on the budget to actual, saying that the council looked at it and approved the amendments.
So this is an increase or decrease, it's just fine tuning is what you're doing,
Yeah, yeah.
as far as what items are indicated as such.
Allocates a spot for the revenue that was received, that wasn't put into the budget before.
And then relines up some of the expenditure items where some, you know, spent less, and we are just adjusting them between them.
It's not changing our budget.
No.
No.
And this is for 2018. I don't have a problem holding off or going one way or the other, so it's up to the council.
I'm fine with 28.
Lights going right now.
I just know how we are about getting papers the night, the day of, so I
Right,
would
but,
understand if we wanna wait. It's up to you guys.
but this is already done,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Feltes, second by Fetch.
Somebody else.
We're working off the recommendations of our auditor.
Yeah.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mazak.
Yes.
Holstead.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fetch.
Yes.
Feltes.
Motion carries. Now we're at 9A, approved bills of general account in the amount of $151,206.61.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Fetch, second by Mazak. Questions?
Yeah. Well, Davey Engineering is here. Now, line item Davey Engineering, where it's Myers Valley Creek. And there's one down here further, Myers Valley Creek Monitoring, Santec Consulting Services for all that, okay? Two line items there. So what's with the two outfits there?
Yeah, so, the original agreement that we have with Stantec, did leave some of that work over to DV Engineering to do. So in that monitoring, there's both hydrological and then there's environmental that we have to record. And I believe Stantec is in charge of doing the hydrological monitoring. And then Davy's in charge of recording, you know, the habitat and environmental growth. And so they team up and then they provide their results over to the Army Corps of Engineers as part of our permit. Now, we're in year 3, and we've asked for the Army Corps to reassess and see if we're done with that monitoring. If you remember back to that permit, it required 3 normal years of monitoring, and it's a debate of whether or not we had rainy years over the last 3 years. But if Army Corps is okay with it, then what we would do is do a final delineation of the old Myers Valley Creek and the new Myers Valley Creek, and then determine, you know, wetlands, etc., and make a final assessment based off of that. It's part of our permit requirement for relocating that creek.
Okay, I just kinda wondering about two organizations charging us for the same thing, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah, if you think about it, so everything kind of underground, you know, the hydrological, dryness, wetness, that's Stantec. Everything that's above ground, you know, habitat, grass, weed, etc. Davy Engineering, yeah.
Okay.
So we have to report on both those things.
I have a question again on Davy Engineering and the Gaffney Road. Is the town of Arcadia then
Yeah,
responsible for
so as
the
part
other-
of, you'll see as part of our, kind of negotiation and that agreement. So for the Gaffney Road, what would be the reconstruction, we're proposing that we split those bills with the town. And then, what, the work that we've done for the extension, that we've incurred for the extension and looking at, preliminary costs, those will be the city's.
Yes.
Go ahead.
This, meal, training meals, 7768. Brock Olson, training meal reimbursement, $72. So is this over a period of time, 2-3 days, or how?
I think they were there 4 days, I believe, a couple weeks ago.
It was 3 or 4 days, and we have our per diem, so I think it's, we're gonna have to look in the policy manual, but it states out that you only get so much for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so this is for more than 1 day.
Okay.
It's all our,
I was looking at 1 day.
our four full-time officers were at training. I wanna say it was 4. It was Monday through Thursday.
Just curious.
I told Nate to pack a lunch for comments or questions?
I don't catch it by meal.
Clerk will call the roll.
Olsted,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fetch,
Yes.
Feltes,
Yeah.
Mezek.
Yes.
Motion carries. We have 2 operator licenses.
So moved, pending background.
Motion by Feltus, second by Mazak. Any background checks? Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
I'll abstain because I'm not sure what that is.
Operator licenses are server licenses to serve alcohol within the city. They come in and apply. The police department does a background check on them. If there is any issues or something like that, the chief will.
So these are people that just want to bartend?
Correct.
Oh.
Bartend or
Quick
work at
Trip
the grocery
or
store
somewhere.
or Quick
like
Trip.
Quick Trip or
Okay.
Express
They
Mart,
have to have
any place that
an
sells
operator
alcohol.
license. If something comes up in their background where, you know, maybe they shouldn't be doing it or something like that, it's brought to us and we've done a number of different things, whether kind of put them on a probationary period or deny it in general. Sometimes it's stuff that's happened years ago but still shows up in our background. But we haven't had an issue in a while, so we probably will. But for the most part, we usually get a couple a month. Sometimes there's a bunch a month.
A lot of these are recurring.
Yeah, some of these are just renewals. That's what it is.
Okay, then I can.
Sure.
Fetch,
Yes.
Feltes,
Yep.
Mezek,
Yes.
Olsted today.
Yes.
I apologize. I should have explained that to you before we voted on it. It's better to ask than to just vote yes. I appreciate you doing that.
There's no dumb questions.
Future agenda items, if you have any, please let Bill or Angela and myself know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna, can I go back to the bills, say $500 some for ammunition? That's a lot of bullets, huh? Is that for practice?
You'd be better off asking the guy next to you. He uses more ammunition. Either guy probably.
Yeah, I know this guy, yeah, right.
I'm sure they buy in bulk.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
buy them in bulk and then they're
They have to shoot so often.
so often and they go through a lot. I mean,
Various caliber.
Yeah.
they have to shoot their shotgun, they gotta shoot their pistol and the rifle, so.
M16s or whatever they are, whatever.
308s,
Oh, they got 308s?
40 calibers, 308s, and 12 gauge.
Oh, they got, oh, wow. But yes, it's
I checked it out when I was getting hold of Whitehall one night.
curious.
That's
I'm
it?
kidding.
All right.
Well, actually, I do remember you getting hauled to Whitehall.
I did. Everyone should get the chance. I just want to tell you guys something that blows my mind. Before we started snow blowing this year, which was in January, I figured out the average year on that snow blower we got, that big one.
Yeah.
We averaged 30.8 hours per year. And I remember from times, there'd be years when we'd blow twice or blow 6, 7 times. This year, in January, we blew for 7 hours. In March, we did 13. And in February, we did 72.
72?
72 hours on that snowblower in February. So,
Dear.
just, so we got 92 hours on that snowblower, and the way it sounds, it isn't done yet. So,
Where do you go with the
So how
snow?
are-
right.
So how are we doing on our
The
snowfall?
school park is, parking lot's full, the city parking lot's full, we're hauling up on
Oh yeah, and that's another thing.
On the prairies.
Carl Prairie.
Yeah, I asked the guy that owns the racetrack now, and he let us pile there.
I was
So,
just kind of wondering.
yeah,
Great, that's great.
There's a lot of snow.
A lot of-
we'll be pushing piles around to get them to melt before broiler days. I
We
know.
better hope we don't have a quick fall,
Yeah.
Good.
You better believe it, yeah.
because
That's correct.
When can we get that levy built?
Which side?
But that's just crazy. 92 hours, you
You
know.
gotta let the water out.
Next meeting is the 20th, at normal time of 5 o'clock, and it will be, yeah, no, it's down here, yeah, down. It'll be down at the utility building. They have police training that night here at 5.
Or they use some of that
Yeah,
bullet.
we will, yeah. I don't think they're gonna be using the bullets in here, but
Oh, you did so.
they usually wait till this spring and summer to shoot them. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion. to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fetch, second by Feltus. Clerk will call the roll.
Fetch,
Yes.
Feltes,
Yep.
Mazick.
Yes.
Holsted.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So.